Hello everybody, this is the albums I've missed of 2025. I didn't do this for 2024 because it got honestly quite busy and there wasn't too much I wanted to talk about. I already had a lot of albums I discussed, and even in 2024 I feel like I had more releases. I feel 2025 had more releases I wanted to talk about, so this is all the stuff that I have gotten around to listening to, and just want to give a brief little kind of entry here, because some of these songs, some of these albums rather, might appear in the top 50, and I just want to kind of give a little short review onto what I've missed this year. So without further ado, I'm going to go through with this list. To start off, we have the self-titled album by Rivers of Nihil. Honestly, with this kind of prog metal entry, with its death metal technical sound, I was expecting this one to be a little bit better, kind of like their Owls album, which that one is just amazing in my opinion, but one doesn't come quite close rather than the Owls record, and some of the songs do have elements that drag it down, especially towards the latter half, where the songs don't feel like they have a more concrete way to structure the ideas of it together. This album generally still is a good tech death metal record, and has just got some fun moments that make this one honestly quite enjoyable. I think what I've seen is a little overhated. It's not the best polished album, but I feel like for Rivers of Nihil, even if it isn't the best sound they could go for, it's still a very enjoyable one, so I'll give this one a 3.5 out of 5. Next we have Aviana. This is Void. I honestly really enjoyed the single Evermore, but going into the whole album, it kind of just feels like it's a very gimmick sort of record with this. It's not bad, but just more generic, with kind of the weak mixing that forces in some breakdowns that don't really need to be there, guitars that just drown so much that that's pretty much impossible to hear. Matter of fact, there's going to be some really cool riffs, just the mixing doesn't really want you to hear the riffs. Some songs like Father just sound exactly like Wage War Tombstone, but worse, and Wage War Tombstone was on the album where Wage War went completely octane core, more into the softer generic side. So it's not great that Aviana kind of followed that, considering the fact that Rage was quite a good record that I enjoyed, but it's tolerable, I guess. Like, Father's breakdown was probably the most forced, which I didn't care for, but I don't think this one is too bad. It's just kind of tolerable, as I mentioned. Some choruses are fine, but some don't really fit, like Heavenly Sparks just doesn't really fit with the whole direction it's going for. Very mixed record with some good qualities, but then a lot that just kind of bring it down. I would be giving this a 2 out of 5, normally, just because of the amount of weaknesses, but I feel like minus the stuff I've said, everything else is enjoyable, and it's an album I can see myself going into at least a couple of the songs here and there. It's just okay. That's literally it. 2.5 out of 5. We got the new one by Equilibrium, Equinox, and yeah, this one's kind of a bit more accessible direction of the band than what we've normally had for their folk metal approach. It does have some nice charm to it, and I do like some of the elements they bring, but I can't see myself listening to the full album after already listening to it. It just kind of feels like you're getting too much commitment just to kind of get the full experience, especially since a lot of it doesn't quite give you this wow factor. It's enjoyable in small doses, but not an album I'd really prefer to listen to track by track, to be honest. The new one by Helloween, Giants and Monsters. It just sounds like a standard Helloween album, which is fine, but this is just generally an overrated power metal band, and this just really is one of the more dull and uninspiring records in their discography. One or two songs I actually think are enjoyable enough, but a lot of it just kind of does the stuff we've seen before, rinse and repeat the formula. It doesn't really have anything flashy, or really feel like the band's trying to reinvent the sound. It's just release the same thing, and it kind of gets more tiresome. I get the quality still there, that it's not bad sounding. I just really find this album to be kind of dull and have almost nothing that really wants me to go back into it. So unfortunately I'm going to have to give this one the first weak rating of 2 out of 5. I just didn't like this one much. The new one by a small band called The Cards I Play, Diamond Avenue. I remember seeing this one and nobody even mentioned it, to the point where I had to upload the album onto a website just so it could be listed onto my list. Yeah, so Diamond Avenue is good surprisingly. It's got some good potential, but I just wish it had kind of rolled with the ideas it had, or it could have gone for a bit more. It has some fresh sounds, but overall it just kind of comes off as this kind of standard hard rock release, and that's kind of it. In the future, maybe the band can improve from this, but yeah, they're definitely underrated still, and they got some great components to it, so I'll give it a 3 out of 5. The world is a beautiful place, and I am no longer afraid to die. Dreams of being dust. So, the band that is most known for being Midwest emo has kind of taken a more prog rock, alt metal approach, which, I mean, that's a big step from Midwest emo, but sure, how does it sound though? Honestly, while I wasn't expecting it to be the formula, and I don't think it's their most solid concrete work, it's honestly nice to keep the formula fresh by doing something completely different, but at the same time it manages to keep the bass sound of what the band has been going for. Some moments do feel like they overstay its welcome, especially the last track of all things, but minus that, it generally has a lot of good moments that I feel just makes this one really cool. I like the heavier side to it, it's got some very nice guitars from it, and yeah, the emo sound is just a nice pleasant addition. I'll give this one a 3.5 out of 5. It's I'm just baffled with how different it is, and it works. Shadow of Intent, Imperium, Delirium. It's just a consistent, great tech death album, which, while I prefer River of Nile's record, surprisingly, I like the symphonic deathcore feel that this album works with, and it just feels more consistent than that record, and the aggression being this consistent feel is quite nice, rather than Rivers of Nile, which kind of changes with some of the songs. But yeah, this is great, and Corb's grinder feature on Feeding the Meat Grinder is definitely a highlight on this one. I think those two work together really well. So yeah, 3.5 out of 5. I've got the new one by Mugshot, All the Devils Are Here. It just sounds like orthodox and kicks absolute ass doing it. Short but straight to the point with some of the some absolute meat to the record. I like this kind of direction that some metalcore bands will go for. They just generally use the more metal side instead of leaning more into the core aspect, and that's what makes bands like Orthodox and Mugshot just honestly those rare commodities that really need to have a lot more exposure. But yeah, this band definitely is like Orthodox. Matter of fact, they even supported Orthodox on one of their tours. Veil of Tears, I also thought on this song, they said expose the IRS instead of expose the arteries. It's the way it's pronounced, but I just found this to be really funny, and I thought, if it's exposed to the IRS, this album is going to get bumped up just for that. But no, of course, I'm just being silly. It's still an amazing album. I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed that one. Slow Crush, we got the new album first. Yeah, sometimes shoegaze bands don't quite have that unique flair and charm, which is a big deal, because a lot of bands do kind of more slower, ethereal feel to make you kind of feel like you're ascending just slowly. When a lot of bands just do that and have nothing to offer, then it just kind of feels like your average shoegaze band that doesn't really have much to offer, and it kind of becomes this bland, just this bland listen. And I kind of get that with this. It's a standard concept for the genre. It doesn't sound bad, but again, it's just not a thing that really makes this one memorable in my eyes. It just exists. 2.5 out of 5. Beyond Extinction, Where They Gather, it's fine, not badly written, just not something I vibe with much, and I think it just kind of drags on a little bit. I'll give this one 2.5 out of 5. Prolapse, I wonder when they are going to destroy your face. Yeah, this comeback album since the 90s was not really good in my opinion. Not one song really stood out to me, and a lot of it just kind of felt like they lost the creativity they had in the earlier sounds. I just couldn't get into this, unfortunately. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. Tropical, Fuckstorm, Fairyland, Codex. Honestly, it's not my cup of tea. It's kind of in this weird vein of, it's got this psychedelic feel to it, as well as playing with some very nice kind of, yeah, it's just mainly psychedelia, and sometimes it doesn't quite hit. I like when bands like King Giz and the Lizard Wizard put their own spin on it and just have this very fun feel. And psychedelic porn crumpets do that as well. And going for the kind of trio to make this a full trinity of Australian bands with just these weird ass names, despite I'm not the biggest fan of this one compared to the other two I mentioned, I like the vibe of it. It's still enjoyable enough to listen to, it's not even close to being a bad album, and the material is definitely solid, which is why I can see a lot of people who like it, and I understand why. For me, it's not quite for me, but despite all that, I give it a 3 out of 5. I actually still think it's got some nice qualities, and some of the songs on here I still regularly go back into. It's a nice listen. Got the new one by Everyone Dies in Utah, The Cost of Clarity. Everyone Dies in Utah just kind of remind me of a deconstructed Enter Shikari, with less electronics and instead more metalcore. It's from the vocals and the fact that they kind of have this trance-core approach, but the sound a lot of the time just feels like a jumbled mess whose the vocalist uncleans are not pleasant to listen to, and the growls just feel like they're just randomly strewn across tracks. Like, you can put your death metal growls into a song and you can make it work, but when you're just throwing it willy-nilly and just making the vibe of the song feel random, that's not creative. That just kind of comes off as a clumsy, terrible take. Enter Shikari will do stuff like that, but there's a lot more to it. And I feel like when they throw in random elements like that, it still works. Like, breakdowns are pretty much foreshadowed, or they just have some great warning that the song's going in a different direction with some cool electronic components. Everyone Dies in Utah just kind of do random stuff, and it's just not very exciting of a listen. I found this one to be kind of weak. I'll give it a 2 out of 5. Chaoseum, Live for Sale. Honestly, this is a band that kind of sounds like knockoff Korn, and but this time they're leaning more into that love and death sound with the guitars. Kind of reminded me a bit of Head, and the songwriting just kind of reminded me of pretty much them. It's just, it needs to kind of find more for it to be this whole big original release, but every time I hear it from these guys, it just literally feels like the most basic Korn fan has got a new metal album and a new metal band and wants to pursue in that direction. It kind of reminds me of Flymore. At least I can give Chaoseum the benefit of the doubt. They have a bit more of an original personality than Flymore, which was completely copying Korn, but I just can't get into the band. I wish they were more I wish they branded their image out to be a bit more different than what they are offering. 2 out of 5. Demon Hunter, there was a light here. The vocalist has normally been the highlight of the band, and I feel the metalcore melodic drive is fine, but doesn't quite hit as hard, and the band has had that rocky reputation with albums, but this is an improvement if anything. Demon Hunter's one is not anything remarkable, wouldn't go on my way to listen to it necessarily, but as quality goes, it's still good in that, and I just think that's pretty much it. 3 out of 5. Spitz, something to consume. The only downside I had to this is the overwhelming genre blending. Sometimes they lose a little bit of their identity in between it. Sometimes they just don't need to lean too much into random genre blending, but I still feel like the punky sound works great. I love the aggression on some of the songs, like Throw Yourself to the Sword, and I just don't think some of the other songs quite have that strong sound, but the shoegaze heavy sound is quite an interesting blend to it as well. Again, it's just loads of different genres: punk, pop punk, shoegaze, then you get some hard rock, a little bit of that grunge feel. They just have a lot going on for it, and I feel like that's the only downside, as I mentioned. But yeah, it's a very still interesting, fun album, and I give it a 3.5 out of 5. Quite enjoy this one. Nevertel, Start Again. The blend of EDM, new metal, and metalcore is interesting, as I feel like it's kind of like Linkin Park and Danger Kids in some capacity, but leaning a bit more into that kind of Bad Omens sort of hard rock octane core sound. I honestly think the second half gets a bit too wacky in the electronic sounds and beats, kind of loses its charm, but the first half has got some great stuff. Criminal is definitely one of my more favorited songs, and I think this album has got some overall pleasant ideas, and nice to see from Nevertel kind of surging more into popularity with this newer release. It's quite nice. I'll give it a 3 out of 5 because I do quite like the effort on it. Motion City soundtrack, the same old wasted wonderful world. It's an improvement from the last couple of albums, but not by much. It just has a sound that doesn't really have much to offend. It's just kind of an inoffensive, fine album. I can see people liking this one quite a bit. For me, I'm just not really that big on it. I'll give it a 2.5 out of 5. Purity Ring with their self-titled album. I've never gone on my way to listen to an album like this for a review, and I'm glad I did, because I've definitely been leaning more into liking electronic artists, and this one doesn't even have an ounce of rock. It's more on the electronic side, and Purity Ring really piqued my interest with the Black Stallion release of Deftones, where they actually did a remix of Knife Party, which I can gladly say was easily the best cover, or remix rather, from that. That was quite a mess, and Purity Ring's one was definitely a highlight, with Robert Smith's one for Teenager being a nice addition as well. With this album, it generally has got so many good songs. The singles have been great. The only thing that kind of brings this one down a little bit is there's some songs that just don't really work on here. There's a lot of songs, some of it doesn't need to be there, but as a whole it's still a very good album. Give it a 3.5 out of 5. Got the new one by The Neighbourhood, ultraSOUND. It's just boring, nothing new or interesting. It's Neighbourhood. I don't think they're really one of the most compelling artists on the scene. Give it a 2 out of 5. Fox Lake, New World End. It's a fun rap metalcore fusion with some fun energy, but sometimes it repeats itself. You get riffs and ideas that you've heard already being brought into later tracks. The features are a great addition though, and I'm really happy they added a Void. I quite like a little bit of a Void, and they were fun to see live, and they're fun to see a lot more popping up on tracks, and even with Silent Planet, especially Gara Russell's voice being in the comparison as well. Some nice ideas, and I think Fox Lake has released a pretty fun album in 2025. Give it a 3.5 out of 5. Home Is Where, a new record hunting season. I didn't really like this one, unfortunately. The Midwest emo band kind of wanted to dabble way more into a country sound, which has big potential, not gonna lie. The country Midwest emo works great. I mean, it's Midwest, but they lean too far into that western country direction rather than kind of what Midwest emo bands like American Football give you, and it just kind of comes off as way too cozy. It pales in comparison to what they've done before, and even the best songs like Migration Patterns just get a bit too much with the singing, some of the ideas it brings. I think it's definitely an album I can see fans enjoying, but Home Is Where aren't really winning me with this one. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. Bon Iver, SABLE, fABLE. Not the best release from Bon Iver, but the concept works really well. I like SABLE as the kind of this hopeless, dark part of the album. It's the square on the cover, and fABLE is the more hopeful, optimistic cream colour that surrounds it. fABLE being a small little black squares in reference to the few songs that narrate into this part, and then the cream cover is the majority because most of the album is being more optimistic. I like the idea of that. It's just generally well coordinated. The shift is very good, and some of the best songs easily come from the second part. I don't really like this sort of sound normally, but I'll give Bon Iver the benefit of the doubt. There's some songs I generally clicked with quite well, and while SABLE isn't for me, I'm not really a fan of these slower songs at all. fABLE generally brings some of the best stuff I've quite enjoyed from a Bon Iver track, so I will give this one a 3 out of 5. Defecto, Echoes of Isolation, feels too similar to a lot of the metal bands we've had, and it just has a rougher sound. The riffs and drums just don't really do anything to make the songs pop out, and the writing is certainly one of the weakest, just kind of lackluster from Defecto. Didn't really care for this one. I give it a 2 out of 5. Heartsick, Break the Curse, a very underrated new metalcore band with some fun ideas, but sometimes the songs do kind of mesh together and just have this more forgettable feel to it. I generally do like the songs that stand out though, as they just have this very fun energy to it, and I feel Heartsick should be a lot bigger than they are, so I'm quite surprised they're this small. 3 out of 5 for them. Spite, New World Killer. It's just a good start, but gets old quick. That's pretty much all I have to say for it. Spite is great though. I'll give it a 3 out of 5. I just don't think New World Killer is one of their stronger albums. Ripship, Crawling Chorus. Good debut for the psych rock duo from New Zealand. Some songs just don't really hit, but most of the songs have this fun quirk to it that I quite enjoy, like Debugger, which I think Debugger is generally one of the best songs they've put out, but I definitely feel like some of their songs need a bit more polish for sure. 3 out of 5. Guided by Voices are back with Thick, Rich and Delicious. It's another album that doesn't really do anything different. It's a formula that just gets tiresome at this point. It's kind of same indie rock direction that they've been going for a while. And while some songs stand out, I just don't care at this point. This is just already overdone. And I'm just finding a lot of Guided by Voices stuff to either be fine or not fine. And this is another not fine album. So that was that 2? They had 2 fine albums and 2 not fine. I can't even remember. It was I didn't even review last year's albums. I just reviewed 2023. But Guided by Voices are back, and I just didn't really like it. So as I said, 2 out of 5. 5 Seconds of Summer. Everybody's a Star. Music never really appealed to me from this band. They're just too more in the pop category, but since they're a band, they kind of get listed as pop rock, which I struggle to see, but I understand because they still have some natural elements like guitars, drums, so why not, right? But honestly, this is the most solid and best sounding album they've put out. I feel like a lot of the creativity is kind of shining on here. Some influence from artists like Prodigy in some of the tracks. The song Not a Star is a great addition, and even some of the other songs are amazing as well. I feel the second half is where it slumps a bit for me, but you just get a really strong first half that makes up for that. And I'm surprised to give a band like 5 Seconds of Summer a 3 out of 5. Mammoth, The End, just standard Wolfgang Van Halen songs that feel a bit like feel like a batch of his weaker material. Has good elements like the guitar work. I mean, generally some very good guitars, and instrumentally it's not bad. I just feel like it's just not really pushing anything different than just your usual hard rock you'll hear on American rock radio. So yeah, it's fine. 2 out of 5. 2.5 out of 5 rather. This one's not an album, it's more of a mixtape, but I want to mention it. Cleopatra, Scrap, the second release from Cleopatra. It's a weird mixtape that feels more like the band I preferred from the first album. Fake Moon didn't, so it's nice to hear kind of like this bit more garagey rock sound. But yeah, the mixing is atrocious, and I get it's a mixtape, but it's just like you have an interlude, a weird sounding song, an interlude, a weird sounding song, etc. Points for them sounding more like them, but this is not pleasant for the ears in my opinion. This is just hard to listen to. I'll give it 2.5 out of 5, that's as generous as I can be with it. Machine Girl, Psycho Warrior, MG Ultra X. This kind of is the sequel to MG Ultra, which I wanted to talk about last year but didn't get around to, so this time I'm talking about Machine Girl. It's a very fun digital hardcore record that just surpasses a lot of the previous release. For sure, this album feels expressive, unique, very much got a nice bit of variety for the heavier, faster paced beats, with some zany weird glitchcore like elements to it. I love a lot of the songs. Ignore the Fall is one of my favourites. Psycho War is another great one. There is so many good elements to this that I really enjoy the album. Every song just sticks out nicely, and yeah, this is probably one of the better Machine Girl releases we've had, and I'm quite happy with it. Just so much fun ideas. Just so much fun ideas. There's also a Drum Corps as a feature as well, which is quite cool. I give this one a 4 out of 5. Generally one of my more favoured albums of the year. And to end this up, we got 5 Point Palm Exploding Heart Technique with a new album, The Storm. It's got some fun quirks of the post-rock emo blend, and I generally do like the direction they've gone. Very experimental, with some songs being up to 10 minutes, some great stuff like Wall Crawler and PPP, but yeah, I feel like they're a band that I think the more they go on, the stronger their material will age and become, so yeah, 3 out of 5 for them. And that's pretty much all the albums I haven't been able to review, so I've compiled them here. Probably not as big as the 2023 one, but that's because I've tried to make sure I've caught up with a lot of the stuff I've talked about. There's only been rarely a few albums I haven't really mentioned I wanted to talk about, so I've tried to clear this year completely of stuff I wanted to talk about or listen to. And yeah, it's been a very bloated year. I've reviewed 112 or 111 albums this year, which is like 60 more than last year, so we've definitely had a lot more material, and I'm just impressed how I've managed to get through with all of it. It's been a very strange, weird year, but we've had some great music, and yeah, there's only a few more reviews coming if this one comes out before some of them. But if not, Health Records reviews coming out for Conflict DLC. The Part 2 release of the Lord of the Lost OPVS Noir series is coming out, and I'm definitely talking about that. And Volume's new record as well. Those are the final albums I'm reviewing, and yeah, then we'll get into the main lists of the year. I'm excited. It's my favourite time of the year, Christmas, as well as also looking back at how good of a year it has been musically. Not so much realistically, but yeah, this year for music has been pretty insane, and I'm just surprised with it. Matter of fact, I can just say around 100 albums, literally 100 albums, are pretty good to masterpieces, and then all the rest are like mid good to pretty weak. So 100 albums out of 300 for being generally pretty good. It sounds weird, but that's because also a lot of the stuff that's good will end up just being more mid good, which is still enjoyable in its own way. I mean, like, there's still like 3 out of 5, 6 out of 10, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, we have a lot of good releases this year, but it's still a bit of a mixed bag with the whole variety of it. But yeah, that's every album I've missed this year. So I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much for watching if you've watched all of this. And yeah, we're almost at the end of the year. It's scary. Yeah, hope you enjoy.